Well, Southend on Saturday, an interesting game against a big club who have come down. They remind me of us when we first come down, a bit all over the place, on and off the pitch. So yeah, what's your thoughts on them, Mark?
Well, you said to me yesterday that about reminding you of us. And when you first said it, I was sort of, I sort of agree up to a point, but the more I think about it, I think you're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
I suspect, it's early season, you never know, but I suspect that they are not going to be challenging this year. I think they'll need to settle themselves down a bit this year as part of a sort of regrouping. Just like us in the relegation season, they used a hell of a lot of players, which is always a sign that you haven't got a plan, and they've had to have a massive sort of rejig of the squad. And I think they've got structural problems as a result of that. Their start of the season isn't terribly impressive, and I think they'll need more than one season to really settle and be a challenging team. Now, of course, they could prove me wrong, but they've got some nice players.
Yeah.
But at the moment, well, Wrexham fans talk a lot about the Wrexham squad gelling. They need to gel more than we do.
And I quite like their manager. He seems quite good. Yeah. He was really, really calling out a lot of his players against Wealdstone, wasn't he? Yeah. Saying, if you're not putting the effort in, you're not playing for me, basically, wasn't he? So he seemed quite fiery, and I think a lot of that, thanks to fans I've chatted to, the Southend fans I've chatted to, have been really hospitable, to be fair. But yeah, he's really hung a lot of his players out to dry, didn't he?
He doesn't look like a manager anymore, Phil Brown. He's gone for the whole suit of no tie, sort of Ryan Reynolds casual look, but it looks different on Phil Brown. He looks like a bloke who you wouldn't buy a second-hand car from. He's not scared of it. We all know what I'm referring to. He's not scared of calling his players out in public, but he's. I don't think he's enjoying it much. There was an interesting article I read in one of the local papers from a journalist, basically saying, that Wealdstone game, which they drew 0-0 on Bank Holiday Monday, that's the sort of wake-up call of, right, you do realise we're a non-league team now.
Yeah.
And it looks like Brown may have felt the same way and had a bit of a go as a result of it.
And I couldn't quite believe... sorry, Southend fans, but I found it quite funny reading all the comments about losing to Wealdstone, not losing, drawing to Wealdstone, like, whoa, what's going on, sort of thing. I'm like, sort of, welcome to the National League. The National League, doesn't have the most glamorous names, but these teams can play football and play football to a decent standard as well. Yeah,
it is a little bit of a culture shock. You're right. I appreciate why you apologise to Southend fans, but you're quite right, and I think it's a reasonable thing to say to them. But not being disrespectful, we had the same process, like you say. It's a similar situation.
We were playing teams like Hayes and Yedding and Histon, and they were playing well against us. It was hard to comprehend, wasn't it? It's like, whoa, what's going on? Like, we were playing Bradford last season, or we were playing good teams last season, big teams, and now we're playing these Wealdstone. We're better than this, but no, you're not. You're in this league for a reason.
Yeah, and our early weeks, the first season of non-league, we got some good early results. Which tided people over, and I think built up that idea even more of, we'll only be here for a season, and we were top of the table after about 4 games. And then reality started dawning a bit more. We had a very tough 3-2 win at home to Ebbsfleet, and some people were a little bit disgruntled with that. It's like, what the heck's Ebbsfleet? We should be battering them.
Yeah.
And then we went to Grays Athletic and lost, and we were poor. We deserved to lose. Yeah. And there was I got a really strong sense of just in that one game, the whole situation had turned around. The dissatisfaction that was losing to them. We went into a midweek game after that at home to Russian and Diamonds, and he just felt that the manager, Brian Little, was a dead man walking, and the team came out and it looked like they felt that as well. It was the most dreadful performance, lost 3-0 at home, and he was gone. And that was a couple of weeks after being top of the table, which shows how, this league can play games with your perception a bit. You're seeing yourself as, we should beat these. But actually, like you say, that they're actually decent teams.
And at the end of the day, there's some Wrexham fans who still think that we should beat these because we're playing. Yeah. And it's not like that. it's not like that at all. You know,
Yeah.
Solihull Moors don't have the most glamorous names, but I tell you now, they do well in the Football League right now.
They're solid, yeah, exactly. So Southend are going to go on that journey that we've gone on, I think, haven't we? And I hope it doesn't last too long for you, but clearly I want us to go up first. I'm sorry. But yeah, Southend, there's always a few hits to take when you drop down. The other thing which hits fans hard is when you start playing part-time teams.
Yeah.
And not getting results against them.
They start beating you.
and that is, I mean, to be fair, I would argue that this is something I just certainly didn't know when we dropped down to a league of part-time teams. But I've learned over the years, frankly, part-time teams get pretty much the same prep as full-time teams. They just train in the evenings instead of the mornings.
Yeah.
So to be honest, you know, that whole idea of part-time teams should be a pushover, or they won't be fit, they'll get tired, is nonsense. And it's no disgrace to be beaten by a part-time team. A lot of these players, the reason they're part-time isn't because they're not good enough to get a full-time contract. It's because they've got a decent job. They're good enough to play maybe at a higher level, but they don't want to give up a sound, well-paying job so they can play football for their local team and get a decent wage off that, plus their main wage. So, you know, these teams, but it's a psychological blow when you start losing to them.
Yeah, and it was interesting to listen to Jay Harris on the Fearless and Devotion podcast saying, actually, sometimes it's better to be a part-time team because football's your passion and your work's your work.
Yeah.
And players, and you're playing at still playing at a similar level. When you're a full-time football, you take all your problems into work, which is football. Yeah. But when you're playing part-time, football's your release from your problems at home and at work. So you actually play with a bit less pressure in some regards. So
and Paul Rutherford as well. When I interviewed him on Dragonheart last season, I was talking about him at Southport, because Southport always struck me as a well-managed team, and it was part-time, but their tactical flexibility within matches was remarkable to me. I mean, it's sort of variation, a sort of intuitive variation that you don't see often outside the top coaches. And they would constantly, during a match, they would make quite radical changes to their shape to respond to different situations. And you think, that looks like the sort of thing you need absolutely hours on the training ground to be able to pull off like that, and for the players to be comfortable when the coach says, we're changing to this now. And they would do it really well and always be difficult to play. And he was basically saying, because essentially we were having, you know, our training was the same as a professional team. It was just a different time of day.
Yeah.
So yeah. Which is a psychologically difficult time for teams like Southend. When you come down, trust us, we feel that pain.
But also, when we first come down, we also beat Stevenage 5-1. So
5-0.
5-0. That's it.
Full credit.
5-0. So these teams can also be dangerous. So who's caught your eye so far watching them?
I mean, before even saying that, I have seen them play. But before even having seen them play, Rhys Murphy stands out as a cracking signing. I mean, he scored a hat-trick against us a couple of years ago for Yeovil. Good target man, mobile as well, good finisher. That's a cracking signing, that. I mean, that really is coming in and getting one of the best strikers at this level. So that was a good statement of intent straight away.
Yeah, 100%. I was talking to a Southend fan who's watched them quite a bit. They said he's getting into the right positions, but he's not quite firing just yet. Yeah. But Rhys Murphy's a quality player. Once he does start firing, he's going to be a real asset to them this season.
Yeah, he'll be double figures.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any question about that. He's reliable in that sense.
Yeah.
As long as he doesn't get injuries, rock solid.
Yeah.
Dolby alongside him as well.
Yes, he played for Woking last season. I remember actually researching him last year. He's pretty good, isn't he? Solid, young, isn't he? He's only 21, isn't he? From what I
don't think he's got the best scoring record. No. He may be a player who's able to support Murphy. You know, fair enough. That's what partnerships are there for.
Yeah.
But decent, tidy player.
Yeah.
In the support role.
Good player for this level. I wouldn't say he's a player. He's a striker you want if you're pushing for promotion.
Yeah.
But he's a solid player. Yeah. I think it's a good signing for them. I think their captain, he's a traditional centre back, isn't he, John White?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, they got a couple like that. They got Josh Coulson as well, who on paper looks like a very good signing. I mean, he's 32, I think now.
Yeah.
You know, but players like him and God, my brain's gone blank to the left. back, the Greek name. Oh, I've forgotten his name now. Dimitriou.
Yeah.
Good, solid players like that who know the ropes, have got plenty of experience at this level, but maybe are slightly better than this level in terms of overall experience. But they're good players to have in the squad as well.
Yeah.
And like I say, White as well. They got physical strength at the back. The other ones that hit me watching them, like I said, they play three at the back.
Yeah. It's like a 3-5-2, isn't it?
Well, there's been criticism that they may be defensive, hasn't there?
Yeah.
And Brown's sort of bit back at it, and I'm inclined to back Brown on that. I don't think it's a defensive approach.
Still think it's clicking.
But it's not working properly, perhaps.
Yeah.
The bits I've seen, I don't think they've really kept the ball well enough to get the wing backs up the pitch, and so it's become a 5 at the back when the intention isn't for that to be. I mean, if you look at the players they've used in these sort of positions, Bridge, the left-sided player, is really sparky attacking player. I like the look of him.
Yeah.
He's very dangerous when he gets into the other side's box and down the sides. But if you can't get into those positions because they're not getting forwards well, he becomes a fullback. And then we're on the other side. Brown's admitted he's got a bit of a problem with Dimitriou because he actually had to move into midfield. Gogo has been injured, and he had to move into midfield when they played Stockport quite early on, and he improved the team. And he said he moved the ball around quicker, got them going. Well, your problem there is he's also a good wing back, and there's a balance. And then what they've done sometimes is put a young lad Egbury on as the right wing back, who is very small and quite nippy and lively. And again, it's an attacking approach, because I wouldn't necessarily want him having to defend the far post against Jamie Record, for example, because he's not physically strong, it doesn't seem, and he looks about 5'6". So, I don't think Brown's intending to be defensive. It may be they're having to defend, but I think it may be because things aren't quite working out right, rather than because the plan is to defend, if you see what I mean.
And if you're watching Wrexham against Notts County, you don't want to be defending and inviting pressure on. Inviting pressure when you've got Hyde and Mullen up front, and you've got Jordan Davis who can find those killer passes when your defence are a bit all over the shop. Even though they only conceded 1 goal. Fair play, which is fair enough. I don't think the defence is all over the shop, but when you've got that, if we can recreate that relentless pressure that we did against Notts County, against Southend, I can't see us having much problems. I don't like to say that.
Careful.
I don't like to say that. But I feel like we won't have much problems in this game.
Well, I'm not as much of a fate tempter as you. But
you're trying not to.
But I would say that, like I said, after Notts County game, if we play in that manner and at that tempo,
this is as I was saying. If we played in that tempo,
at this level, won't be able to cope very well with it. And County, fair play to them, they've got a bit of guts and character about them, and they managed to get a point out of it. But it was down to a lot of penalty area heroics after we picked them apart. So if you keep playing like that, we'll give teams real problems.
Yeah, and I'm not tempting fate. I'm not discrediting Southend at one bit, but I do seem to think if we play like we did in these first 3 games against a lot of the sides, we could beat them.
Yeah.
I really do think that.
I mean, it's interesting. Brown, in defending himself and his tactics, didn't really say 3 at the back's not defensive because we've got attacking wing backs. He actually said, I'm playing 1 centre back with 2 full backs either side of them, as in the side full backs. I'm not sure it's totally true, but certainly Ralph, the left-sided centre back, is, as far as I'm aware, more of a sort of attacking full back. Now again, I don't know, it'll be an interesting, if Wrexham get their rhythm going and the tempo going again, it'd be quite an interesting test of that defensive unit to see whether, ironically, they're too attacking, despite everyone saying they're too defensive, because if you're playing sort of like, full backs as centre backs, wingers as wing backs, you don't want to have that sort of pressure coming on you. Also, it's a stupid thing to say this in some ways, because everybody seems to play 3 at the back in this division. But it does suit Mullen. Mullen wants to get around the sides of centre backs. So again, you've got that dynamic.
But I also don't think their issues are defensive issues. I think their issues are scoring goals. You've played Wealdstone, Kings Lynn, Stockport. Stockport, they're going to be challenging for the title this year. They look class against Southend. They look like a good side. But if you've only scored one goal against Kings Lynn and Wealdstone, it's slightly worrying. And I know highlights don't tell the story, but I watched the Kings Lynn's extended highlights against Southend, and they were getting passed around. Kings Lynn were creating the more opportunities, and because they didn't really have the quality in the final third, they didn't win the game, and Southend ended up winning 1-0. But I was looking at it and I was thinking, it looks like quite a good game for Wrexham there, to be fair.
Yeah, the Wealdstone game, I know obviously a lot of dissatisfaction about it. I wonder if the scoreline influences that. Obviously, you could argue the scoreline should be the biggest influence on anything you know. But I mean, they hit the bar a couple of times. Murphy with a terrific sort of scissors kick, and then a great shot from outside the box. I think it was Phillips. I'm not sure. Phillips is good. I like the look of Phillips. He's got a nice, tidy sort of midfielder who can get forwards into dangerous positions and play killer passes. So they could have won that game. But if
you want to get out this league, you need to be beating both those sides.
No buts.
No
question. Absolutely right. Yeah.
And they beat Kings Lynn, but it was a 1-0, a scrappy 1-0.
Yeah. These are teams that were only not relegated last season because there was no relegation.
Yeah.
Absolutely correct. The other thing I think is that there's an interesting lad they brought in on loan from Norwich.
Right.
Dennis, his name is. It's always sunny, isn't it? Everything's an always sunny reference. His last name's Dennis. I can't remember his first name, and he looks really interesting. I don't know if the move's partly because of Ogogo picking up injuries, because Ogogo is
season pro, isn't he?
Yeah, and destructive.
Yeah.
Is it 9 career red cards, something like that? And he's only 17. No.
He's played for Shrewsbury, isn't he? He's played for Dagenham Redbridge quite a lot, so he's very season pro and a good player to have at this level, really, isn't
exactly. Dennis looks like the opposite in terms of he looks very raw. Obviously, he's a young lad from Norwich. He would be raw, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
He's about the size of a sort of medium-sized nuclear reactor. He's enormous.
Yeah.
Big lad. Really muscle-bound. Explosive. Playing centre mid. He's one of those players who looks a bit sort of awkward sometimes. But it doesn't necessarily matter because he somehow clambers through you anyway. He has an awkward first touch, and in the second touch, it's just drawn you in, and he gets to it and he's past you. He looks like the sort of bloke who, if he clicks, will win matches. So he's quite an interesting character, I think, just to keep an eye on. I think they're interesting looking team, Southend, but they got lots of different bits they need to try and slot into the right points at the moment. Doesn't look to me like they've quite worked that out yet. Phil Brown needs to watch out for the whole Brian Little experience of you start off, the fans are getting frustrated, you get sacked, and then they bring somebody else in who maybe finds a better balance with the players they've got. Because they've got some interesting players, I think. But they don't look like they're quite hitting their stride yet.
And it might be a perfect time for Wrexham to play him.
Hope so.
Hopefully, but the thing is, they're not conceding goals either. So they're, we can criticise them all we want against these, but they only conceded 1 goal against Stockport, who they look tight at the back. It's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tough game.
First half hour of that game with Stockport, though, Stockport get the goal.
Yeah.
And then
the lovely goal as well, isn't it?
Oh yeah. But there were chances to clear that goal. I don't think it was very well defended. And then around that, Reid missed a really good chance. Reid missed another good chance, which ended up being offside. But it was too easy to play the ball into the box, no matter where he was. And another opportunity, edge of the box, keeper made a decent save. Stockport could have finished that game after half an hour, despite the fact that Quigley had gone off with his traditional hamstring injury before the chances were getting made. So, that game, with the Wealdstone one, like I said, I understand Southend fans being frustrated by the result, but they clearly could have got a goal and then just got nicked at 1-0. The Stockport one, by the same token, after half an hour could have been over.
I also think Stockport aren't hitting their full potential yet as well, so they're going to be a side obviously to watch out for this season. So I'm reasonably confident about this game, but you can never be 100% confident in Wrexham. I know it's horrible, but being a Wrexham fan, I think you're always slightly a pessimist, aren't you? But yeah, I think the way we're playing and how I've watched us this season, I think we've got a great chance to win this game. But it's a long trip down. It's going to be a tough game. Southend have got a good set of fans.
Yeah.
It's going to be intimidating. It's going to be loud. But yeah, Wrexham fans, I'm sure they'll be going down in big numbers again.
And the London Reds going across as well.
Yeah,
so we've
got a London Reds coming down. And so yeah.
It'd be a good game to be at. Good fans, Southend. Nice, good club.
Yeah, they'll be looking for revenge for the LDV Vans final. So
no, it'll be a good atmosphere.
Yeah.
And like I say, I'm sad to see Southend in our league.
Yeah.
Because they're a proper football club. I don't mean that as an insult to clubs in our league, but Southend belong in a football league.
I'm sure I was reading online they've sold 3,000 season tickets.
That's
so for them dropping down into our league and the state their club's in off the pitch, let's be honest. Fair play to them, and I wish them the best for this season.
No, I don't. I wish that we get promoted.
Well,
I hope they do really well next season.
No, I hope. Well, if we win the league, it doesn't matter how well the other teams do.
I suppose that's true. Yeah. All right then. I wish them all the best.
So I wish them all the best. Another thing, I wish all our fans travel down safely on Saturday. Also check out our Twitter, Match Centre if you can't come. We've got Mixler. We've got the Match Centre, which is on our website, isn't it?
Website.
So like a live text sort of thing.
It's
excellent. If you don't have time to listen to the Mixler if you're in work and you just need to have a look. Have a look at Dragonheart, which is going to be coming out on Friday. Check out everything, all the fantastic work the media team's doing. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Highlights will be out midnight Monday morning.
Yeah.
And I'll do a podcast, but I don't think I'm able to get to the game, it looks like, in which case I won't be able to do it until Sunday once I've had a chance to look at the footage.
Yeah.
But I'll watch the game through and pass me opinion on it. Give me a verdict.
Yeah, and to just keep up with all the amazing stuff we do and get to the game safely, people who are travelling down. I hope you've enjoyed these previews. A bit of work goes into it, but it's work I enjoy doing.
Excellent. Nice one.
Yeah. Until next time.
Adios, muchachos.
Thanks very much for watching. Please subscribe as well so you don't miss out on any of our content, and click the bell to get notifications.